Okay, I don't know how to articulate this myself. I know that it feels right to me, and I also had a similar reaction when I first heard about he/him lesbians, and I've had other friends who had the same reaction. But because gender is really complicated, including gender presentation, and gender and sexuality are really personal. It's um, really limiting to make such like restrictive statements like you have to be a woman to be a lesbian. I understand where you're coming from for sure, but I wanted to share this. This is from the LGBTQIA wiki. It was really badly formatted, so I couldn't get a good picture, so I copied and pasted it, but you can check it out on the website. A he/him lesbian or hesbian Hesbian refers to a lesbian who uses he/him pronouns. It is a more specific form of pronoun nonconformity and cross-pronoun usage. A he/him lesbian does not necessarily identify as male because pronouns do not always equal gender. Oh wait, what does that say? But instead are another part of gender expression, similar to one's clothing or behavior. So this is kind of like butches are more masculine presenting, but they're still lesbians. But a lot of butches will still identify with she/her pronouns. Um, in the same way, non-binary individuals are more comfortable using pronouns other than they/them. Some binary individuals may feel more comfortable using pronouns other than the ones typically associated with their gender. Feeling a disconnect from womanhood is a common experience among lesbians. Real. Um, Despite typically identifying as women, this is hard. Through their sapphic attraction, similarly to how lesbians might go by masculine names or present as butch to express this disconnect. A lesbian may also refer to themselves by he/him to express a disconnect from their gender. And then it goes into how neopronouns are a similar situation. So I feel a disconnect from womanhood, but not completely. That's why, I still consider myself woman aligned. I know that I present in a way that most people assume I'm a woman unless I tell them that I prefer they or he pronouns. And I identify really strongly with my lesbian identity. Like, I have dyke tattooed on my arm. Like, it's real for me. But that being said, we live in a patriarchy. We are surrounded by misogyny constantly, and it's understandable to internalize that kind of thing. And I'm not saying that that's like the exclusive reason behind this, but it's hard for me to identify with womanhood, in part because of those reasons. But in a more simple way, it's like what sparks joy. Like, masculine identifiers spark joy for me. They give me gender euphoria. And she/her pronouns give me gender dysphoria, but I don't identify as a man. I sometimes identify as a man in kind of a joking way, like in a way that it sparks joy, where it's just like, if somebody calls me a good boy, that sparks joy. And so I'm like, and like I would identify as a husband, but as a lesbian husband. And it's kind of almost a radical act in that, like, I identify with masculinity, but I am non-binary, gender non-conforming. I don't identify as a man. I don't identify as a woman. But in the same vein, I identify as somebody who is attracted to women, to like feminine presenting people. It's very my sexuality is also complicated because I can be attracted to non-binary and gender non-conforming people. But the lesbian identity is really important to me, and I feel it very strongly. And the lesbian identity is not as restricted as you are a woman who is attracted to women, because there are a lot of butches, there are a lot of lesbians, there are a lot of studs who will have sex with twinks, gay boys. It's very, very complicated sexuality. It's never as cut and dried or black and white as this label means this one thing. And that's partially why there are so many labels that you can choose from. And what's important is that you respectfully and thoughtfully find the ones that work for you and suit you and spark joy. And for me, being a he, him lesbian sparks joy. Wearing a hat that says dyke and having dyke on my arm, like dyke always feels more like a gender identity to me. While also like being called a good boy or being called he or even being called they, like that makes me feel seen and it just feels right for me. It's a constant evolution, like things might change, but where I'm at right now, I don't identify as a woman and I get gender dysphoria from feminine identifiers unless it's like in that gay way of like, hey girl or bitch, you know, like that's different because it makes me feel like a gay man. So it's very, very complicated. And I didn't want to call you out, but I thought this was an important conversation to have and I couldn't concisely have it in the comments. So I don't want anybody to leave any hate or anything. I hope this was a genuine inquiry and not an accusation, but I thought it was an important conversation to have. I didn't realize this was going to be a 6-minute video, but that's my answer, I guess.